Grip 6 manufactures amazing belts, wallets, and wool socks. And did you know they have unlimited replacements for life? Check out their chess-themed merchandise at grip6.com/chess and use code CHESS20 for 20% off your next order.
Hey everybody, it's Grandmaster Ben Finegold here with the game of the day with Chess.com. For the candidates event, which is ongoing, I'll be doing the game of the day after the round. It'll be a relatively quick analysis of the game. It won't be one of my typical 3 or 4 hour videos, so it'll be short and sweet. Today's game of the day was very easy to pick. It was the game between Caruana and MVL. MVL was tied for first with Nepomniachtchi going into the round, and Caruana was a point back. So, they had over a year to prepare for this game, and they did. So we'll get to the really critical points, of which there were about 10. Very exciting game, which it took almost 6.5 hours to finish. So they played the Najdorf Sicilian, which is what MVL likes to play. And sometimes people who don't want to play a million moves of theory, they'll play, bishop b5 check. But okay, Fabiano likes to play a million moves of theory. So this is a big theoretical battle because probably the 2 best prepared players in the world in the Najdorf, probably right here. So, okay, now in this position, White can play every move, and every move has been played. Even moves that you think look ridiculous, they've probably been played for White. So it's hard to prepare for Black because when you have the black pieces, you have to be ready for everything, which MVL is. So bishop g5, which is the old main line, f4. And now Black can play bishop e7 and queen c7 and knight bd7 and b5, which is the old main line. Or you can play the poison pawn with queen b6, which is even more interesting. So he chose queen b6. Queen d2 takes on b2. And this is the poison pawn variation, which has been played for probably about 70 years. Almost every top grandmaster in the world has had either white or black in this position. The 2 main moves here are f5 and e5. f5 is more popular, but e5 is becoming the main move now. So he played e5. Black can take or play h6. MVL has played h6 before. And this is the main line of the e5 h6 line. So then they just started playing the main moves. So this has all been prepared for over a year by both players. Queen takes a2, rook d1. So White's sacrificing all of his pawns and Black's only moving his queen. So it depends what kind of style you like. Do you like being 3 or 4 pawns up? Or do you like developing your pieces and castling? And depends what your style is. And the point of this is the candidates. You must win the tournament. And this is a lot different than other tournaments. Okay, coming in second isn't better than coming in 8th, last place, if you want to play for the world championship. You have to come in first. That means if you go draw, you don't come in first. So this is a great opening for both players, because it's likely somebody is going to win because it's such a double-edged position. White has a big attack, White has a big lead in development, and Black's always up a lot of pawns. So active, interesting players like this kind of game. Okay, queen d5, attacking the knight on e4. Again, this is all the main line. Queen e3, queen takes e5, and MVL has played all this before with Black. Now, in this position, there's about 200 Grandmaster games, and in almost all of them, White played bishop e2, which, prepares to castle, gets his last piece developed, and the Novelty, which is very hard to prepare for because the engine immediately doesn't say this is great. If you have your engine on for a month, then it probably says it's good, is the move c3. That's never been played before, and if you put it on your engines, it says, c3. But, if you analyze it for a year, with different engines, with your seconds, you might come to a different conclusion. Okay, and MVL, I don't think he possibly could have known the move c3. It's never been played before, and it's sort of weird. Okay, so bishop c5 was played. The engine likes this move, pins the knight, threatens to castle, etc. Bishop g3 attacking the queen. Queen d5 is not only forced, but it's an excellent move. Keeps pressure on the position. And this is the point of the novelty. So c3 is sort of a boring move, but he had envisioned that this would happen, Fabiano, probably amongst many other things. And he played bishop c4, sacrificing his bishop. Again, the engine doesn't like this move, and probably if you let the engine think about it for a day or two, it probably would like the move. And I'm sure that Fabiano and his team looked at this for quite a long time. You have to take the bishop, and now bishop to d6. That's the point. The bishop on c5 is attacked. Black can't castle, and if black takes the bishop, knight takes, forks the king and queen. If it was white's move, and he took the bishop, and black took back with the knight d6 check, still forks the king and queen. The king and queen are in prime forking position. Now, the engine, after thinking, I put this on like 4 different engines. After thinking for 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, wants to play bishop d4, and it likes black's position. Now, from a human perspective, giving up this bishop and leaving this bishop on d6, and you could never castle, that doesn't seem right. So for a human, bishop takes d4 is really hard to play. You don't want to give up that bishop. You don't want to leave the bishop on d6 forever. And I'm sure there's tons of analysis done by the Fabiano team on bishop takes d4, since the engine likes it, without thinking too long. Okay, he played the other move the engine says is okay, knight f6. That threatens the knight. So you have to play knight takes c5. You can't take with the bishop because the bishop's only defended by the knight, and black just takes the knight. So you have to play knight takes c5. Knight d5 attacks the queen. Queen e5 is the only move. And I'm sure this was prepared by Fabiano, but MVL is just making it up. You can play queen takes c3 check, but the engine actually prefers rook g8, which is what MVL played. And now it says white only has one move, but again, this is Fabiano's preparation. And a lot of the super GMs think this is like the best preparation of the year or the best preparation of all time or something. I mean, they really liked what Fabiano was doing. Okay, so he played knight d takes e6, and he's going to crush that king. Takes. And the move that makes the most sense is the move that MVL played, but he also could have played king f1, king f7, which is also possible. And knight f6 is also possible, but I can't imagine a human playing that. And I'm sure Fabiano was prepared for that. MVL made the most logical move, trading queens, so his king doesn't get checkmated. And they traded queens, and MVL's up a lot of material. A lot. But his rook on a8 is going to get captured. But he's up so much material, it's still about equal. King f7, you could also play king d7, which again, I don't think a human would play. You don't want to take the rook now because this rook is attacked. So rook d3 attacking the knight. The knight moves to safety. We castle with check. We take the rook. I'm guessing this is probably the end of Fabi's preparation for this particular variation, and we're on move 28. It's possible the prep ended earlier, but I doubt it. I think he saw this position over the last year. The engine says it's equal, but it's easier to play white because the passed pawns aren't very dangerous. They're right there, and white's rooks look pretty good. The king is a little unsafe. Black is totally uncoordinated. So I think humans would want to have white here, but the engine says it's okay for black. Okay, then they just played normal chess that wasn't prep, just standard normal stuff. And Fabiano got to mess up MVL's pawns by giving up his beautiful bishop. but the ruined pawn structure is worth it. Now white's playing for a win. He gets lift for his king. And these pawns are weak. This king is open. And these pawns, they're just not dangerous yet. If they were further advanced, then maybe black's better. But since they're not going to queen, and black's king is in trouble, the rook's better than the knight, there's two isolated weak pawns, white has the advantage here. Okay, and eventually, that's a nice move because the f-pawn's pinned. They eventually got down to a position that was a table-based position, a 7-piece table base. Okay, and it's this position. This is a 7-piece table-based position. Wait, is this it? No, I'm sorry, later. I apologize. Okay. This is a 7-piece table-based position. The table base says it's a draw, but it's very difficult to draw for black. Black has to wind his way. No. And even by losing the A-pawn, he's still drawing. And he's going to lose the A-pawn. In the long run, he can't hold on to it. And this is a drawn position according to the table base, but, I mean, it's not easy. You're down the exchange for nothing. And in this position, this is the key position number 1. The only move that draws, according to the table base, is knight f5. And he played knight f5. And Magnus was like really impressed because MVL's defending so well, stopping rook g3 check. And then very soon thereafter, he played the move knight h6, which loses. Now, again, this is hard to explain unless I had about 5 hours and I read the table bases and I understood them. But problem is the knight's not very well placed on h6. And, you know, black is just in zugzwang. He can't move his pawn, can't move his king because his knight, he has to move his knight. And it turns out e7 and g7 are safer squares, giving the knight more leeway. And after check, king f7, yeah, that knight's not good on h6. If it was on e7 or g7, it has a lot of places to go. Okay, and once again, king e4 is a zugzwang move. It's like, your move, I dare you to move. So that's unfortunate. Knight g8, rerouting the knight. That's, you know, pretty good. And the way that white wins is interesting. When I was watching the game, I thought maybe the king would try to come up here, but actually getting the king up here is better. And that's what Fabiano did. Yeah. And eventually his king, you know, black is just always in zugzwang. He doesn't want to move his king off of f7 because then the king just walks in. So he, you know, he repeated a lot. He fooled around a lot. And this was funny. I remember I saw Hikaru on Chess.com, and he said the table base says these moves all win, but this move doesn't. He was trying to figure out why. And the reason is, if the rook can go to the 5th rank, it stops black from doing anything. And after rook d3, knight e7, the rook can't go to the 5th rank. So that's actually pretty funny. Okay, and MVL eventually capitulated. And in this position, if he plays king g6 to stop the king from moving in, king h4 is check. We defend the knight, and the king goes to h5. So once the king gets to h5, it's pretty easy. You just walk on in. And in this position, probably early for a lot of people, not for grandmasters, black resigned. Black is losing here, and the engine that's not very strong that says white's +9 in like 3 seconds. Yeah, you can't lose this pawn. So if you play the move knight e7, king f7 wins. The only thing I would do if I was black instead of resigning is play knight f4 check. That's the only non-resigning move. Then you could play, every move wins. King h6, king f7, it doesn't matter. King h6 is the preferred move right now. King e4, the rook goes back, and black is in total zugzwang. You know, my king can go to g7, f7, g6. You'll never win my g-pawn. If you play f5, I play g5. So it's completely winning. Now the engine says +55. So maybe a little early for some people, but after king g6, MVL resigned. It's the game of the tournament. MVL did a really good job against the Novelty c3 and the piece sacrifice bishop c4, but he couldn't draw the drawn ending because it was very difficult. And obviously, throughout the game, he had less time. So Fabiano's catching up. Thanks for watching the recap of round 8. Tomorrow's round 9. I'll do a recap then. Hopefully we have a game this exciting. This is Grandmaster Ben Finegold for Chess.com. Keep watching our videos on the candidates. Watch the candidates live. It's the Chess.com Twitch page has great coverage. You should see it. It's amazing. There's a lot of new stuff going on. Camera angles and commentators and all kinds of stuff. See you guys next time. Bye, everyone.